It's a great day. My name is Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission really is to empower. Our mission is to inspire. And our mission is to provide you, that's right, you, the hard-working entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. On this call, we're going to have a wonderful conversation because for all the CEOs out there that are wondering, what CEO moves do I need to make? Well, there's one move you can make that could probably transform your whole business. And that is scale smarter. I'm going to ask John, don't worry, I'm asking in a minute what that's about. First, let me say hello. Welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show. So glad to see you again and have you here.
Thanks, Che. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show.
Thank you so much. And you're someone I got to see in person, by the way. Some people I never met, but I did get a chance to meet you, and thank you for being here. Let's just address the elephant in the room. We'll get into your background. People, I'm sure, have read your bio. Some people have already Googled you and all that stuff. But there's others that are just looking at it and saying, Shay, tonight's about CEO moves. Tonight's about scale smarter. I'm already working hard, Shay. And today people have AI they can use. Today they got more resources through technology than ever before. So when you say scale smarter, what does that really mean for entrepreneurs that are already working hard?
Well, so you can be working hard, but you might not be working smarter when it comes to your money. And that's the key thing with the chief financial officer or a fractional chief financial officer, which is what we're talking about here today. You are working with someone who really is analyzing everything when it comes to your money. All right. So we're looking at expenses. And there's expenses that you might not even know you're spending money on anymore, right? I mean, when you open a company and we know how we do it. We throw a lot of balls in the air and, whatever sticks, that's what we run with. It's just kind of how entrepreneurs get started. But the fact is, there could be a ton of waste in your expenses or in your company. And so that's one of the things that we're going to address. Another big elephant in the room when it comes to your finances as a as a CEO, if you're offering any type of retirement plan or benefits for your employees, which you should be doing, by the way, because that's how you keep good people. But the fact is, those benefits in that plan, you might be completely overpaying for that. And then beyond that, how do we do it? Like when we get in there and we find things that we want to fix, we want to maximize leverage. And most CEOs absolutely love that. They want to spend somebody else's money, not their own. And so that really is a key factor in scaling faster, scaling smarter.
Jonda, I didn't say it right. Jonda, did I get it right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I was saying that. So, Jonda, that was spot on. And at the risk of insulting someone out there, but they might be like Shay Brown. I remember saying, well, Shay, can she break down fractional CFO? Like, what do they really do? I mean, I'm not trying to be funny. I mean, I know, intellectually they're supposed to help with something, but what does a fractional CFO do? And how do they help entrepreneurs?
Well, okay, so let's start with the fact that let's look at a CFO position, a full-time CFO position, because there's plenty of folks, plenty of large companies out there that have full-time CFOs, right? And if you're unaware, this position will run a company somewhere between $200,000 a year and $700,000 a year, including salary and bonuses, depending upon the size of the company. So it's a huge expense for a company. And so for smaller entrepreneurs or, those of us who are just getting started, we can't afford that. We need it, but we can't afford it. And so when you look at the fractional CFO, you're not hiring a full-time CFO. You're hiring someone to come in and analyze your books, right? We're looking for money that's just leaking out of the company. And we're also going to be an accountability partner. And so, in pre-show, we were chatting a little bit about, bookkeepers and CPAs and things like that. Well, the CFO or the fractional CFO really holds them accountable and weaves all of that together to make sure that we are absolutely minimizing waste and maximizing growth, because money's the name of the game.
Spot on. I like how you said that. Makes sense. Now, there's someone right now that's cooking in the kitchen and they're like, Shay, I like what Jonda's saying. This is a good start, but I didn't get a chance to read her bio. I don't know who she is. She's making sense. And I think it makes sense, makes sense, like sense and sense.
Right?
I know
Absolutely.
it's not a good term. I know you want dollars, not cents. But in all seriousness, let's slow down for a moment if we can. A number of folks, no matter how famous you are, they're meeting you for the very first time. So do you mind
Sure.
taking a moment that we can slow down? They want to know, who is Jonda? Like, what is her backstory? And what was that defining moment, Shay, that led her to being so passionate about doing what she's doing now?
Well, so my backstory is that I've spent the last 4 decades, truly almost 40 years, because this is my 39th year in financial services. And we basically transform how people think about, grow, and protect their money. And that doesn't mean, you can be an individual, you can be a business owner, but that applies across the board. And unfortunately, mainstream media would have us think about our money a particular way. And without going too far down a rabbit hole right now, what I mean by that is, understand if someone is pushing something on you, okay? They're pushing a financial strategy. They're pushing a financial product. And when I mean pushing, you know what that feels like. Chances are it's going to benefit them more than you. Now, at the end of the day, I sell financial products for a living, but it's important to me to make sure the products are suitable and needed. And so when I say think differently, you might, if you decide to have a conversation with me, you might hear some things that you haven't heard in traditional financial planning. We look for loopholes, and we look for ways to, again, use leverage and take $1 and do five different things with it instead of needing $5 to do five different things. That's going to be a much better way to approach it. And so, as far as what's made me passionate about this, it's there's such a need. As a financial advisor, you want to be a good example. And again, I've been in this almost 40 years, and so I've had a rough financial journey at the beginning. I went through divorce. That divorce led to bankruptcy. These are things that we don't like to talk about. There's not just shame, there's pride, right? And we kind of want to hide those things. But the fact is, I'm on the other side of it now, praise God, and I'm blessed, and I've learned so much from it. And now I need to go back, if you will, and teach what I've learned to people that are experiencing it right now, because it feels very hopeless, especially if you're a woman, when you are going through divorce and or bankruptcy. Often one leads to the other. And so from that standpoint, I just want to reach as many people as I can to let them know, hey, there's life after divorce, there's life after bankruptcy, there's financial success after divorce and bankruptcy.
Well said. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being so authentic, by the way. And one of the things you
Welcome.
talk about is that you use rules as tools, but not as limits.
Hmm.
Can
Yes.
you take a moment and kind of unpack that in a way that we can kind of understand? Can you share what you mean by that, please, and maybe give us an example? Because I thought that was it's a
Sure.
good philosophy. That's what I like to call it.
So, I was raised very strict, and I was raised to, go by the rules. You're honest, you tell the truth, and you don't break the rules. Well, it's not that we break rules, and I'm not out here. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, rules are made to be broken." No, rules. I have learned that rules can be used in a strategic way, and so where For example, one of the things that mainstream would want you to believe is that you are not going to be able to afford to retire if you do not have a substantial amount of money in a 401k. That is a specific type of financial product. And this would even go with the CEO, because there's a ton of pressure on entrepreneurs and CEOs to offer 401ks. Okay. And so this goes both ways. But guess what? I'm not a fan. From a CEO standpoint, that product is very expensive to offer. All right. And there's plenty of better plans to offer that would be substantially more cost effective for the business owner and actually better for the employee. And then from the employee standpoint, they're pressured, if you will, into participating in these 401k plans. And again, there's a better way. It's a non-traditional way. It's not talked about in mainstream media, but it's been around. Actually, it goes clear back to John D. Rockefeller.
Wow.
So,
This is good
so
stuff.
so the rules. And again, I don't want to go too deep into a rabbit hole here, but there are a lot of rules out there to put squares in round holes. Okay, they're shoving you in a direction that they want you and sometimes need you to go. And that's not always the best option for you. So, I am not your mainstream financial advisor. I am not your traditional financial advisor. You are going to learn some things from me that your advisors probably never told you.
I love it, by the way. And I like to, if we can, as you were sharing that, talk to two type of individuals. And we'll talk to the first group first. And I want to talk to the person that's listening saying, Shay, I love what I'm hearing. Whoa, I'm just feeling a little overwhelmed right now about this whole money thing. What is the first step that I should take to help get clarity and confidence in what I got? And that's the first question. And we'll get to the second question second. The second question would be to the group of you out who are watching saying, Shay, I'm good to go. I'm past just security. I've got 12 months in the bank. By the way, I'm not wealthy, but I'm independent. I'm going to be okay. I've got a few properties and a few investments, but I like to talk to people like her because I'm trying to make my money, make more money. Okay. And I'm trying to get wise investments. We're going to come to you because she helps both. I know that sounds weird, but she helps both. So first, talk to the person who's listening is just a little overwhelmed when it comes to money. They need to get clarity and confidence. What's one or two steps they can do? Then we'll talk to the second group of folks.
All right. I'm going to give a shameless plug for my website. You're going to go to jondaknows.com. You're going to scroll down on the main page to resources, and there's going to be free financial exercises that you're going to download. All right. And I'm going to ask you to do an expense analysis. I'm going to ask you to do an income analysis. I'm going to ask you to build budgets, and I'm going to ask you to do a 30-day challenge. And you're going to say, oh my God, that sounds terrible. Well, that's where it all starts. And, again, we're kind of shifting back and forth between CEO and individual, but there's so many commonalities between the two, because just like in a fractional CFO, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to evaluate all their expenses and see where they're just, wasting money. We have to do the same thing for individuals. And so before I can even build a plan for you and make a recommendation as to how you might reach your financial goals, I got to know where you're at. And most of you, and this is not meant to hurt anyone's feelings, but most of you don't know where you're at, because I talk to you every day. I know this is true. And so it starts with the basics. And so do these financial exercises. Don't sell yourself short. Commit to doing them, and then take the 30-day challenge. And there's instructions in there on how to do the 30-day challenge, but it's going to be mind-blowing, the money that you're wasting. And it's just leaking out of your bank accounts and you don't even realize it.
Just leaking. Wow. That was good. That was
Yeah.
good. And can we, and I haven't forgot about you other folks out there. You're saying, Shay, I'm glad she spoke to them. But again, I'm going to call it independence. I don't know what it's called, but I figured if you want security, you want 6 months in the bank, maybe that you feel secure, or 12 months. But if you're independent, you're like, I can make it a year, pay my bills. And I've got some property or maybe some investments and a little retirement and so forth. But that doesn't mean I have everything I want. So what do you say to the person that's like, hey, when is a good time to talk to someone like yourself? Maybe they already have a financial planner, but most folks have more than one. Talk to them. What would you say to that individual that wants their investments to grow even faster than what they're doing now?
Again, it goes back to a full analysis. If you are working with a financial advisor, there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting a second opinion. Think about your health. It's really no different. Your finances are no different than your health. If a physician gives you not a bad diagnosis, but a diagnosis you don't want to hear, chances are you're going to get a second opinion. And we need to do that in our finances as well. So if you feel like you're in good shape, have somebody take a look. Somebody like myself, if you want to hire me by the hour, we can work by the hour. If you want to actually do business with us and have us manage money for you, those hourly fees are waived, and you work with us on other levels. So we have lots of ways you can engage with us. You don't have to say, hey, I'm going to transfer all my money to you. I just might want to bounce a few ideas off of you and see if I'm in the right place and doing the right thing. And we can certainly work with you on an hourly basis in a consultation setting.
Well said. And we're going to get her website again at the end. Don't worry. We're going to ask her what type of client she's looking for. We're going to do that. But first, there's a segment. I think this is a good segue. It was a segment we have here called Today is My January 1st. And some of you might be thinking, wow, her life's been perfect. She's had no problems. I mean, she just moves on through. We're going to figure it out on the moment. But for those folks that are listening and tune in every night, you know what we're about to do. You can even say those magical words. You might wait to say those words. Today is my January 1st. Happy New Year to you. And for all the other folks who are joining us for the very first time, welcome. Thank you for spending time with us and inviting us into your home. Today is my January 1st is our personal mantra at the Happy Entrepreneur Show. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter how dark and gloomy that past is, or how bright and sunny that past is, the past really no longer equals the future. And so my question for Jonda on the other side is really two parts. Number one, just when you hear the words, today is my January 1st, what goes through your mind? And number two, was there ever a time there was a setback? There was a challenge, something happened in your life that you had to bounce back for? If so, what was it and how did you bounce back?
So I'm going to hit the first one before I hit the January 1st because it kind of led to it. And so, again, I've been in the financial services industry for almost 40 years. And, you have your ups and downs. And as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, I've experienced divorce, and that divorce, unfortunately, because of some decisions and choices I made related to that divorce, it led to bankruptcy. And, those are just that feels awful, and we don't like to talk about it, but I continued to struggle, right? I mean, things would get better and then things would not be so good. And then things would get better. It was just like I was just like, up and down or on this seesaw, if you will. And so my January 1st, my do-over, start over moment was me listening to a pastor give a message. And in this message, he said, are you stealing God's money? And I was like, wait, what? That's some, that's like strong words. Are you stealing God's money? And he went on to say, the first 10% of everything that you make is holy money. And, Shay, I was like, I mean, condemned, I was just feeling condemned, right? It was just pouring over me. And I had actually received a large commission like the Friday before, and this was sitting in my bank account. And I was just convicted. And I knew about tithing. I was saved at the age of 6. My dad taught me to tithe. I watch him tithe every week, but I was never consistent. Right? I would tithe when I had money. And then when we didn't have money, I wouldn't tithe. And, again, I was on this, things are going great and things aren't going great. And it was never working. And it wasn't working because I personally had never surrendered my finances. I had never acknowledged fully that everything I had comes from God. And so on that day, my January 1st do-over moment, I committed to tithing consistently. And that was it was around March, April of 2020. And I am so excited to tell you that I have been consistent ever since then. And that is my goal. I will not go back on that because I'll tell you just a really quick, when you talk about, the struggles, let me talk about when you get on the other side of it. Okay. So the building that I'm actually joining you from, I almost lost this building in a bankruptcy. All right. And it wasn't God's plan. And, I'm super excited about that because I know I'm right where God wants me to be. But it took me surrendering my finances and then almost losing this building and then watching God bring and bless my obedience and bring the business in to pay this building off 4 months before the 5-year balloon note was supposed to renew. And so that was that's my January 1st. That's my do-over. And I'll never turn back.
Wow, amazing. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being so authentic with us. And, as you were sharing that, it led me to a question I get to ask when we have some time. We have some time now, which is, what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given? You've had so many mentors along this journey of life. Seems like you probably read more books than you can remember these days, probably attended more seminars you can think about. But if you had to step back and say, wow, a lot's been given to me. You're now tithing. You've been doing so since 2020. Congratulations. But you got to step back and say, you know what? One of the best pieces of advice, Shay, that's ever been given to me that I'd want to share with the audience, what would it be and why?
So this is going to sound a little counterintuitive, but I'll start off by telling you what was pounded into my head as a child and a young adult, from my parents, from my father, and that was, if you can't pay cash for it, you don't need it. So you don't borrow money, right? You don't want to owe anybody, and that's not actually good advice. So if I am the best advice that I could give someone is that, um, you know, you have to use leverage in a smart, strategic way if you expect to reach your financial goals faster and safer. That's how you're going to do it. Leverage is going to be the key. I don't care if you're a CEO. I don't care if you're, whatever, the cook at the middle school. you know, you can use leverage in a smart, strategic way to get to reach your goals, your financial goals faster and safer. And so that has been a 180 for me, where I was raised as a young child, don't do this. But in from a business standpoint, from a finance standpoint, yes, you have to be able. So with that, you also have to be extremely responsible. Okay, it's not something that you can be careless with. Obviously, that gets you in trouble.
Whew, well, you've been helping people for a lot of years, really
Hmm.
create wealth and have wealth and live a better life and do the things they want to do. I'm curious, what drives you after all these years? I mean, you could stop right now, sit back, it seems like, and enjoy
Hmm.
life and just do what you want to do every day. But yet you're still out there. Even now, you're here, ladies and gentlemen. She didn't ask for a check. She's
Hmm.
here right now sharing this information. So I guess the question, let me just be direct, is what drives you to keep going after all these years when you don't have to do this if you don't want to?
Um, Number one, I enjoy it. I absolutely, and I'll give you a quick example. I had a new client come in Friday, and she is really close to retirement, and she's like, I don't think I'm going to be able to afford to retire. I think I'm in a mess. And we spent about 90 minutes together where she divulged everything to me, and I gave her a homework sheet of this is where we have to start. And she stood up, and when she walked out of the office, she said, I already feel better. And it makes it worth it for me. I People need help, and people need the right help. They need good help. They don't need sold something that they can't benefit from because somebody needs to pay their electric bill. Okay, that's a little mean of me to say, but unfortunately that goes on in my industry. I hate it, and it reflects poorly on me and some other good advisors in the industry, but there are bad apples. And so, you know people need good, solid financial advice, and I'm happy to give it to them. Happy to give it to them.
I'm glad you're here. We're happy you're here as well. What does success look like for you these days? What does it even feel like?
Success has taken on a little bit of a different shape or role for me. I now am at a point where I am hyper focused on leaving generational or creating generational wealth. And so, that might also be another reason why I show up every day, right? That's biblical as well. We're supposed to leave an inheritance to our children's children. And, you know, teaching your children and your grandchildren how to be responsible with money should be, if you have a child, it should be like right up there, number one top goal, because nobody's doing it. Number one, our secondary school systems have completely failed us. Some of them are bringing financial courses back, but for the most part, kids are graduating high school and they don't know how to write a check, which I know we don't write a lot of checks anymore, but they don't know how to balance a checkbook. They don't know how to balance a checkbook. They don't know how to create a budget. They don't know how to live within a budget. They don't understand that needs come first and we save for wants. They don't understand any of that. And so, my mission, my goal right now as I'm helping other people, it's actually to help my kids and my grandkids learn responsible habits and then, leave something behind that they can continue to grow.
Well said. Well said. What do you do for fun when you're not out saving the world, helping people have financial wealth, helping you leave a legacy for future generations, enjoying your spot that you're in right now? What do you do for fun?
Well, I do love do-it-yourself projects. So, you'll catch me redecorating a room or painting a room or, whatever. I love to be outside. I have a little courtyard. I like flowers, but if you ask me where my happy place is, it's the beach. So if I need to, relax or recharge, I love the ocean and warm weather.
Fantastic. As we come down the
And I
home
have three
stretch,
cats.
you have three
And I have three
cats.
cats. So yeah.
Ah, cool. What are your cats' names?
Well, so and we've rescued them all. So Charlie's our first one. She's our oldest. They're all girls, even though they have some boyish names. But Charlie's the oldest. Bailey is the middle child, and Tato, which my granddaughter's named, is the baby.
Ah, I love it. By the
But I
way,
do love them. I do love them because again, I'm single and they are just they're my joy at the end of the day because they're very active and engaging.
that is super fantastic. As we come down the home stretch, two-part question. Number one, what type of clients is your firm looking to work with these days? And number two, for folks that are listening, they're saying, wow, Shay, I like what I hear. I need to connect with her. I need to stay in the conversation. What website should I go to? I like what I'm hearing. What should I do? What would you say to those folks?
So as far as our ideal client, and typically we're not going to turn anyone away if we believe we can add value to their current situation. But if you were to ask me, like, to describe our average client, our clients are typically in the age band of 55 to 74. So it's a little pre-retirement or segueing into, retirement. A lot of those people are looking specifically for safe ways to create income, that they can that they don't outlive in retirement. So that's kind of a little bit of a sweet spot, a little bit of a niche of ours. At the same time, our business owner client avatar, if you will, is a revenue base of about 1 to 7 or 8 million. So these are some smaller companies, but they're growing. We are working with them to not just scale faster, but also hedge their liabilities. And we don't have time to get into that in this show, but there are a ton of liabilities, things that you can be exposed to as a CEO or an entrepreneur, and those are things that we absolutely address. We take a holistic approach to that, and so it's not about just growing your money; it's about protecting it as well. And so, your second question, and I'm sorry I went off on a
Oh, the
tangent
second
there. What
question
was
was
your
what
second question?
website should they go to
Oh,
so they can connect with you? Some folks might want to set an appointment with you or someone on your
mhm.
team. So I want to make sure they have a clear website and a path that they can reach you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we are active on all the socials. So you will find us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. But as far as website, and you're going to find those, by the way, at Jonda Knows. That's just the best way to remember it. And it's JONDAKNOWS. So at Jonda Knows is going to be our socials. And then our website is jondaknows.com. Really cool on the website. It makes it super easy for you to grab some time on my calendar. There is a yellow bar across the homepage that says schedule an appointment. If you click that, it will take you right to my calendar and the openings that are currently available. If you need something further out, because I know my team doesn't open up my calendar, but about 10 to 2 weeks at a time. So if you need something a little further out, you can certainly go to the contact tab and call the office, and we will work to get you a custom appointment if it needs to be further out than the calendar's open for.
Fantastic. Let me say two things. Number one, thank you so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. I know you can always make more
Thank
money,
you.
but you can't make more time. So you're giving us the most
No.
precious resource you have, which is your time. So thank you so much.
Mhm.
Can't wait to connect with you again soon.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, by the way, because without you, well, we don't have a show. So I never get tired of reminding you every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no matter what's going on in your life, whether you're doing really, really well and there's another level of success you just can't wait to get to, or you've been hit with the punch that you never saw coming. The one thing I do believe is that today is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason alone, I believe your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name is Shay Brown. I'm out. Peace, Jonda. We'll see y'all all on the other side.
Thank you.
Howdy.